Well, the new album, Necro Sapiens, is only 2 weeks away now.
Yeah,
2 weeks and 10 days as of recording.
yeah,
It's funny because it's only been a couple of years since Venenum,
yeah,
but it feels like a long wait because last time I spoke to you in London on the Entomb tour, you were
yeah,
saying that you'd actually already written most of the album.
yeah.
Is this still the same music from when you wrote it back then?
Um, no, I wouldn't say that. It was only like ideas at that time, and I definitely think that it took another turn at that time. So I definitely think that there has been some involvements from that time, but the ideas actually began already then. Yeah, when we recorded and the idea when we recorded the Venom, and of course, when the lockdown hit us, we had more time to dig into the material and really try to work with the songs. But the ideas we had at that time that we told you about was quite the same ideas that we had on table at that time. Okay. So yeah.
Cool. Did you add any ideas to that process since, or was it more or less mapped out from then?
That's it always it always takes a lot of turns when you create music, and a lot of other riffs has also found its way into the album as well. But as you look back, it just went that progress. It just went, and I more think like the lockdown had a certain like hit on us, because we could experiment more with the song structures and the songwriting in all. So I definitely think this album is the most Baest sounding, and it's a sound of a more mature and more varied, experimented band that is still grounded and still also trying to work itself into a sound they are comfortable with. But this is definitely the most comfortable sound that we are with. We're very, very, very proud of the album, to be honest. Yeah. And the way that we have been working and recording the album with all its people, and it's great, man.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds amazing, especially the vocals are so meaty. You know what I mean? There's just this real fucking force behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm not kissing your ass, but you've always had that like real strong vocal presence anyway. But it seems to have really come into its own on this album, from what I've heard so far.
I've also been putting some effort into it, so it demands me to. But it's always nice to hear that you do good work and you doing quite an effort, and also feel myself that the last album, the second album, there was a lot of like stress, and it was quite hectic at that time. We were between tours, and the two of the guys had a baby. I was out traveling, and there was a lot of like hectic stuff around that time. That and we had like 3 weeks to put in and to record the album, and it was quite separated. But this time at the Necro Sapiens, we were all gathered in the studio, and we also decided to record it live. So it's all musicians in one room, recording it all. So it's definitely also a lot. The time, I had some great, time to focus in the studio, and also we were going into the studio with we've done a lot of rehearsal before, because we had a lot of time, obviously, at that time. So we came quite prepared, and I came quite prepared as well. And I also think there's a layer to it that everybody was recording in the studio live, so everything is live. Everybody is playing together as we would do it in the rehearsal space.
Yeah.
So I think that's the energy you can feel about, mostly the voice, but also like the way the instruments are playing together as well, and it's quite nice, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think playing it together as a band is what's made it the most bass sounding record so far?
Absolutely, and we've always been like the best. We've always been most comfortable with playing with each other, not separately, away from each other. So I definitely think that this is a quality in itself, that we are playing together. And the concept would also be that like these songs should sound like when we are in the rehearsal, and that's an interesting thing to transfer into a studio as well, and we're quite fond of it. So I definitely think that it comes from playing together as a band. So there's an energy, there's a presence, and an energy between each member of the band when we're playing, and I definitely think that has done a good thing for the record.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely spot that live as well. When you see bass live, you really do all feed off of each other. So yeah, and that's what makes bass such a great live band, let alone a band in general.
Yeah. There's a video out of the song from the album, from the single, called Meathook Massacre, which is recorded in the studio, and that's actual us recording the song at the time. Of course, it's not every bit of it, but most of it is parts, and when we try to record the actual song, and
that's a cool video, because like a lot of kind of recording videos are like straight up footage, but this one's kind of got like color filters on it and things like that as well, so it looks really kind of gritty and dark, even though it's just
we had a film guy, a good friend that we know, who came with all like the effects and all the lights and stuff like that, and of course that's like a scenery, but we also wanted to create a special atmosphere with all these lightnings, and you can still play the song, though there's like still interesting lights all in all. So actually I would also say that the video recordings actually also did something for the recordings.
Cool.
At that time. You had to
and
perform,
Well, speaking of videos, you've also did the one for the title track as well, and I really like this video. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was also fun recording. Yeah.
Was it really 0% alcohol?
No. No. Who am I trying to fool? No, it's it was fun doing it. It was like 2 days, and we were a bit skeptical about it because of the situation around the virus and stuff like that. But we knew a couple of guys who was like interested in working with us, and then a Danish beer brand, which is quite good at doing like, not sponsorships, but promoting bands and stuff like that. It's called Royal, and it's you can find this beer at probably every Danish festival. They have a bus, which is the bus you see, and they wanted to loan it to us for the music video if we wanted to do some product replacement, which is like the zero alcohol beer, and we talked about it in the guys, and we We definitely didn't want to drink zero alcoholic beer, but we thought it was an interesting idea, and it, you know, it was a good way of trying to explain that you can actually also have fun without alcohol.
Yeah.
But it also takes you like into the tour bus and trying to create that authentic, you know, being on tour feeling
Yeah.
that it's supposed to, and that what this band is all about. It's about fun. It's about drinking beers. It's about hitting the road, you know, and you know, that traditional feeling of it. And I think that's an interesting way of explaining a band, like behind the scenes, you know, how it actually is. We've tried it before with a documentary in Danish broadcast television, which is depicting us on tour and our personalities, and you know, there's no rock stars about us people. We are just normal people who is like doing what we're dreaming of, and I think that was a great inspiration of to this video as well. Trying to depict the band in that way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I like it is not just because it's funny. It is funny, but it's also it perfectly represents Baest in the, like you say, Baest is a fun band. You have a really good time watching Baest, but
yes,
the music itself, there's nothing funny about the music. It's straight brutal death metal. Yeah,
it is straight brutal death metal. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas you know, you get some bands that are kind of have to go full on comedy or full on take themselves seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
And so to have that interesting dynamic, which shows both sides, I think it perfectly represents Baest. But speaking of more serious matters, the album itself is more of a concept album this time, is it not? It tells a full story.
It's a story, yeah. We've been very fond of working with concepts and subjects-minded albums, I would say. The first album depicted like the 7 deadly sins and humanity going into despair and eventually dying and meeting its doom. And the second album ends up like in the judgment and going through hell, and depicting, you know, the Dante's the Divine Comedy, Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
And the idea for the third album from that was to do something completely else, completely opposite, because we worked with the, the religious and medieval kind of typical death metal themes.
Yeah.
And what is like the opposite of that? So we took something like outer space. And we like to work when we are getting into work, like progress. We work with a lot of colors. We like to work with colors. And Sven, the guitarist from the band, wanted to work out from an idea of the color purple, eventually. And he thought the color purple as a thing from outer space. And we thought that was a great idea, and he like tried to lay down a lot of ideas for the concept, lyrical ideas as well. And we also ended up reading this book, George Orwell, the 1984, which is quite an inspiration for this album lyrically. Of course, it's not a direct depiction of the whole novel, but
no, of course.
We've also tried to put in some cool stuff like in the Mad Max universe, like magic cards and Warhammer 40,000, you know, all that spacey stuff that is quite cool and manly. I don't know, it's like badass, you know, working with, but then also the pandemic came, and it was quite an obvious idea to build on like a concept like this, because it's, you know, we're in quite a dystopic scenario right now. I guess you can say. It was not on purpose though, but it just felt funny because it was completely reflecting the things that we were working with at this time, and we never knew that it would evolve into the same subjects and problematics that the book is trying to describe.
Yeah.
But we created obviously our own universe, which is like outer space. We have a genesis, you know, like an epilogue starting, you know, describing the whole like dogmas into this totalitarian, despotic, how do you call it? Regime, yeah. Which is populated by this slave race called the Necro Sapiens, and is ruled by this conqueror, this godlike, how do you call it? Ruler called the Tsar.
Oh, okay.
He can like change his faces, which is probably the most direct inspiration from Big Brother, you know. But he's maybe more like a manifestation, where Big Brother is not actually a character. He's ever present, and he will live on through the ideas only as a face that is never like aging. And we have the abattoir, which is like the parliament which is ruled by these like oligarchic aristocrats, capitalists, as you might say, that will slaughter the free will of humanity if they tread beside. Also, like a good character from the book as well, and we have a Tower of Suffocation, which is kind of like depicting a prison and like a torture working camp, if you can say it like that. And the songs after that are like describing all the, you know, the torments and realities that are a part of this interesting universe. You know, one idea takes the other. We thought this as a small, but you know, when you have a lot of fucking time, this like it just comes into play, and I think it's quite cool. Most of the ideas comes from our guitarist Sven, which like he just came with a fucking book, you know, with a lot of concepts and ideas and like drawings of all these things, and I was like, fuck, there's a lot of ideas, and read this book, and like went into like study mode all in all, and tried to take all kinds of ideas as well. It was interesting working with, you know, but we actually wanted to go away from working with the concepts, but you know, all in all, it's you know, it just created a great core and a great like framework for the album, and to make it part of it. Pretty interesting.
If that's your last concept album for a little while, then that's a really strong one to kind of sign off on.
I would say it's the last concept album. But because we are very like we are very safe with, and we are very like getting good at working with concepts and creating a core through the whole, and we also like writing songs and music from different ideas. It just gives like it creates some kind of glue to and can you say not sequel, but
a successor?
Accessor. You can say that for like for all the songs. You have to listen to the album from the first one to the last one, all in all. It's a good way of sequeling your content, your tracks, if you will.
Cool. I mean, honestly, that's such an interesting concept, and it's good as well that you've taken 1984 and not copied it. A lot of bands will just copy it, or they misinterpret the book. You know, it's like every time people complain about like a security camera, they go, "Oh, it's Big Brother." It's not what the fucking book's about, twat.
No, it's about systems. It's about humanity, and it's about like it's about real things, man.
Yeah.
And actual things. If you look under the layers of what is going on, you can actually see this.
Yeah.
And today it's getting more and more obvious with media, social medias, and how it's affecting you as a person, and how it's like imploding you maybe as like an identity, and you feel insecure because you have all these kinds of things to look at, to look yourself in. You know, I've been watching a lot like the Black Mirror series as well, which is kind of like, wow, cool stuff, and it's a quite good explanation of what it's also trying to say. And you know, it's written in 1948 after like after the Second World War, and like before this whole communist
I mean, around that time the Greek Civil War would have been going on. The Korean War was a few years away, but so it's and that's why that book stood the test of time. You know, it's because it has so many layers and so many things to say,
and it's quite timeless.
Yeah, exactly.
It's getting more. It's important more today than ever. I think so.
Absolutely. And so again, to sort of you to kind of taken inspiration, which is the key, and turned it into this amazing, vast, literally universe. It's like, I want to see the Necro Sapiens film now. Somebody called Nicholas Winding Refn and get him to.
Well, I can affirm you that there's also coming. Like, we worked with a book. We worked with a very nice like science fiction author called Richard Galbraith.
Okay.
Whom we worked with on a book, like a short story book with the second album, Venom.
Yeah.
And we also did a podcast with it, and I also believe that there will be a book in progress, which is also inspired by this album and the universe around that.
Excellent.
I think it's important to say also that it's up to the listener to interpret whatever is written as a lyric as well. Of course, it's fiction. All in all, it's fiction. And it's supposed to entertain most of all. But of course, you can derive your own messages and try to reflect them in society, or whatever you want to reflect them in other bands or whatever.
Yeah, and that again mirrors 1984 in that even without the messages, if you put that aside, 1984 is an interesting and entertaining book by itself, let alone the messages, you know, so it works the same with this. One thing I'll say about Baest is I've always had really strong artwork, like the Venom artwork. I love that. I've got the t-shirt. I was wearing it for the Frozen Soul interview the other day. We were saying that we want to get Baest and Frozen Soul on tour together at some point.
I would love to, man. I love that. I really, really like the Crypt of Ice, the album, man. It's killer. I've been spinning it a lot for the late. It's fucking cool. Those guys are fucking cool.
But so going back to the artwork thing, that this one again has really cool artwork. Like you say, the color purple plays its role in it. And that's an interesting thing as well, because I mean, obviously there are other colors in this, but I kind of look at this as the purple album, and Venom as the blue album in a way.
The blue album,
so, how well would you say this art represents the story and the music as a whole?
It's it's a depiction of one of the Tsar character. And I think it's a perfect depiction of what this album is about. And I think it's a great artwork. It's made by this guy called Mitchell Nolte, an Australian guy who also did some work with Vampire, awesome band as well. And it was actually like how do you call it? It was an incident because we actually had some other artwork which was much more like Warhammer inspired, but due to some indifferences and circumstances, we had to find some other artwork, and we ended up choosing Mitchell Nolte's. He had like a sketch of this this figure and this character, and we sent him a shitload of text which tried to describe the whole universe and stuff like that, and we want to go out of space, and can you make it like, can you build on? And I think it was like only a week or so, 2 weeks maybe, and then the whole cover art was like fucking badass. And there are also some references, small references in the artwork for other bands, such as like his necklace is inspired by Entombed thing. And his staff is depicted with many faces, which he can click on. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I only have 1 minute back.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, man. But no.
Simon, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me tonight.
It was a pleasure, man.
I've already pre-ordered the album.
Hope to talk to you soon in real life.
Absolutely, we'll make that Baest and Frozen Soul tour happen.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Look after yourself, mate.
You too.
Bye now.